This used to be one of the main hospitals in Kyiv dealing with COVID-19 infections. It's now been repurposed to treat war casualties. This Ukrainian volunteer was shot in Irpin, north of Kyiv, while defending the capital from intense Russian attacks. Despite being shot 3 times, he wants to go back to the front lines.
Of course I want to fight again. I will join the territorial defense here in Kyiv as soon as I can. I want to join my friends in the fight. When they brought me to the hospital, they told me I had some shrapnel in my lung, but it turned out to be a bullet.
There's a defiant spirit amongst doctors, nurses and administration staff who say they are already working round the clock.
Kyiv will definitely sustain all medical services. On top of that, the Ukrainian army and the territorial defense are keeping the enemy from entering the city. We are ready to give emergency medical and rehabilitation services to all and any that are suffering from this horrible war.
Despite the defiance, hospitals nationwide are facing a crisis. 43 have been attacked since the war began. In the besieged city of Mariupol, staff and patients were taken hostage as Russian soldiers used the hospital to fire on Ukrainian forces. Similar scenes across the country have provoked condemnation from the World Health Organization. To attack the most vulnerable, babies, children, pregnant women, and those already suffering from illness and disease, and health workers risking their own lives to save lives, is an act of unconscionable cruelty. That's an incredibly strong statement from the WHO. But with the war intensifying around the capital, many are wondering whether hospitals like this and the ones that are left will become overwhelmed. Imran Khan, Al Jazeera, Kyiv.
To Moscow now, where Russia's President Vladimir Putin has again been talking about the impact severe sanctions are having. He was referring to Crimea, which Russia annexed from Ukraine back in 2014.
Yes, of course. Without a doubt, the peninsula's economic development has been affected by the Western sanctions imposed, among others on banking, goods, supplies, etc. But after the military operation in Ukraine started, a new set of sanctions were imposed. Yesterday, at the meeting on social economic measures to support Russian regions, I said that the restrictions against Russia have created a lot of issues. But not only issues, they are also creating new opportunities for us.
And the latest briefing from Russia's foreign ministry showed no shift in Moscow's demands for establishing a ceasefire.
Our purpose is quite clear. Kyiv will have to realise they have to agree to carry out demilitarisation and denationalisation. The sooner the Kyiv regime realises this, the sooner the war will end. We call on President Zelensky to think about the life of the country and its citizens and make the necessary decisions.
Turkey has renewed its push to bring the leaders of Ukraine and Russia to the negotiating table. Bernard Smith has more on that from Moscow.
Yeah, Recep Tayyip Erdogan has continued talking with Vladimir Putin, and he has said that it's time for Vladimir Zelensky and Vladimir Putin to meet face to face. There are certain issues that they need to talk about face to face. It's the second time he's offered to host talks in Turkey between the two leaders. But it seems the prospect of that could be a very long way away. We're also having Western sources quoted by Reuters earlier today saying that while the talks are continuing and both sides are serious in their talks, very large gaps remain between the two sides. And you've just heard the Foreign Ministry spokeswoman saying that the long-standing demands of Russia, what they call get rid of nationalist groups in Ukraine. This is what Russia has long been using as its excuse for its what it calls its special operation in Ukraine. It says Ukraine must get rid of these groups. Denazify has been another word Russia has used in terms of describing the government of Vladimir Zelensky. So that sort of talk is an indication of, while the two sides are talking, there's a huge gap between what both sides want, particularly as we know that Russia wants Crimea and Donetsk and Lugansk recognised, Crimea recognised as part of Russia and Donetsk and Lugansk recognised as independent states.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky, meanwhile, has been given a standing ovation from Germany's parliament. He urged Chancellor Olaf Scholz to do more to bring an end to Russia's invasion. And he's warned that European countries care more about their economies than the lives of regular Ukrainians. His address to the Bundestag came a day after a speech to the US Congress.
We are fighting for our lives and for our freedom. It is not the Berlin Wall, it is the wall between having freedom and not having freedom in Europe. With every bomb and every decision not made that could have helped us, this wall is getting bigger. We asked about what Ukraine can do to join NATO and getting security guarantees, and the answer we received is that it isn't on the table. Now you question whether Ukraine should join the EU. Yes, for some this is politics, but for us it is souls for the new wall.
But NATO Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg, visiting Berlin, again warned against a fully fledged war between the alliance and Russia.
NATO has a responsibility to prevent this conflict from escalating further. That would be even more dangerous and would cause more suffering, death and destruction. This is President Putin's war. He must stop the war, withdraw his forces and engage in diplomacy in good faith.